my colleague, Senator Wyden, had a chance to talk to you about, in more detail than my statement, about his Senate proposal S-235. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, obviously we want to get it enacted, but if we don't, we'll be out of funds again this year. And you and I had a chance to talk about the devastation that happened at the Carlton complex. And again, thank you for your discussions yesterday and today about that. I am very interested in what we're going to do, the Forest Service and USDA, on moving ahead on flood control for in the burned area emergency response teams. So definitely want your help and support in the community in preventing, you know, the amounts of ash that are there from being causing flooding in the area. But what are you thinking about pilots? Are you thinking about community wildfire protection plans to help us alleviate these kinds of predicaments in the future when communities find themselves overrun by all of this? Are you thinking about that's a way to help bring order into communities after these things like the Carlton complex?
Well, Senator, first of all, we are going to continue our restoration work on the Carlton burn. We did work last year. We'll continue to do more work here to stabilize, you know, some key areas, to reforest, replant some areas, and also continue to do some additional road work to stabilize that. I guess that we're somewhat fortunate. We have a pretty shallow snowpack this year, and so we may not be subject to as much flooding as we could have been. I say that there's some benefits and not with that because it sets us up for another potential dry year. But your point about, you know, our community wildfire protection plans, they're all focused on the work that we need to put into place to prevent the catastrophic loss of homes and impact on communities. You bring up a good point about what we also need to be thinking about, that when we do have fire, because no matter what we do, we're going to continue to have large fires. And we can make steps so that we can definitely reduce the number of homes that are lost, reduce the severity of wildfires, but we're going to have large fires. So there's probably another component of this about what else do we need to have in place so that not only before the fire, the actions we need to take, during the fire, the actions that we need to take, but also how can we make sure that we have thought out what we need to do following that. And we work quick with our burn area emergency teams. They come in and quickly analyze the area and put some emergency steps into place, but often the restoration then takes several years to follow that. So it's an opportunity for us to really think about the after the fire, which is also something we need to be focused on. And it's something to really look at with our partners, our cooperators, the private landowners, and the communities. So as much as I wish I could say, yeah, if we can restore our forests, reduce the hazardous fuels, we're not going to have these scenarios, but we're still going to have large fires, you know, in this country from everything that we're seeing. But we can reduce the threat to communities. We can definitely reduce the numbers, the thousands of homes that are lost to wildfires every year. But we're still going to need recovery efforts.
Well, I hope, I think the entire Okanagan, which is what we refer to as the region there, would gladly participate in, you know, ways to improve on the community wildfire protection plans and what we need to do moving forward, but certainly want your help on the emergency response teams for flood control and, you know, and the community response in the area. So definitely want to work with you on that. And I think the one thing that we've kind of talked about, but maybe it's really not been stated so specifically, is we're not really, we're talking about what we're getting ready for and what we don't have resources for, and whether they're emergency disasters or not. But I think the thing here that we saw, at least with the Carlton complex, is this was a weather event that really high winds caused this acceleration. So the question of weather and taking into consideration weather patterns as it relates to our fire season, I think is something we're going to have to pay a lot more attention to. I wanted to ask you about recreation permits. My colleague had a chance to ask you about that. Can you just discuss quickly about getting nonprofit, youth-serving groups like the YMCA into our national forests and what we need to do to get that permit process going so that they can also have access. It just seems to me, if somebody from the YMCA or YWCA wants to take 10 people into the Forest Service and educate them one Saturday morning, that they should be able to do that.
Yeah, Senator, as I described earlier, we have our outfitter and guide special use process. It works very well for the outfitter and guides that want to take people more into the backcountry and have quite unique experiences. What you're describing, especially with our youth, is really a different experience. And we need to look at being able to provide access so that it's easy for folks to take school kids, YMCA, YWCA, up onto the national forests and the grasslands to be able to experience that. It's one of the things that this coming year, actually for the next 10 years, working with the Department of Interior, we're going to try to get every fourth grader out to a park, out to a forest for the next 10 years to expose them to the outdoors, provide an activity for them. But at the same time, we need to find a way to make it easier for school groups, community groups, nonprofits to be able to get our youth out.
Thank you.